This is Dale Jr., and you're listening to Dirty Mo Radio.
I mean, you're the cheerleader.
I am supposed to be the cheerleader because I have voiced my opinion of what I thought went the hell wrong. And he said he didn't need me to be telling him that. He had enough people to tell him that.
Welcome to Fast Lane Family with Kelley Earnhardt Miller.
Hey there, I'm Kelley Earnhardt Miller, and welcome to Fast Lane Family. Today in studio, I've got one of probably the best people around, mine and Dale's mom, Brenda Jackson. How are you doing, Mom?
I'm good, thank you.
Or shall I call you Brenda? We're at work.
I don't really like for you to call me Brenda.
I know you don't. That's a whole nother story in itself. So, Mom, because I can't call you Brenda today. So, we're still on an emotional high of the Daytona 500 win. I know I am.
Oh, absolutely.
Right. And I was lucky enough to be in Victory Lane on Sunday when he won and got to say bye to him about 3 a.m., but you haven't even seen him yet.
I know. I can't wait. When he does get home, it'll be like Daytona was the day before. That's how still excited I am about it. I've talked to him, text and email, and
I know, because we don't have phone conversations these days.
Well,
not with smartphones.
I mean, yeah, I can call and nobody answers, and text and 2 seconds later I get an answer. I don't understand it.
I do that to you too, I know.
You do that to me.
I know. It's technology, Mom. It's called technology. So, go ahead. You've been excited. You've watched. I know you've watched because you're a mom and you're the proud mom. You've watched every television show. You've watched every interview, everything he's done, right?
I have. I asked for the rundown of where he was going to be and what he was going to be doing. I'm a big fan. Routine every morning. I watch GMA. So I was so tickled to turn it on Monday morning and have my son say, "Good morning, America."
I know, and I didn't even get to catch that. You're the one that called and told me about that. So what is your emotion and reaction to your son being the Daytona 500 champion for 2014? And followed it up with a second place finish at Phoenix.
I know, and we have Las Vegas coming. I'm just
You're feeling lucky? I
am feeling lucky. I told him to play me some numbers while he's out there. I felt lucky. I'm just really happy for him. I knew, last year, the latter part of the season, that they were just really getting things together, and that, just hoped that this would start out to be a great year. My expectations weren't that it was going to be as great as it has started. But, I just know he's capable every weekend. So, yeah. And my weekends for, 38 races
dedicated
revolve
to
around
that.
Saturday and Sunday.
That's right. You talked about kind of not having the expectation of winning the 500, and I think being family members, we're extra nervous when it comes to Daytona and Talladega and everything that our families experienced at those races. Is that why you didn't have that expectation? Because we sit on the edge of the couch waiting for, some wreck to consume us.
Well, yeah, that pretty much puts it in a nutshell.
Yeah.
It's just so many times that they've come so close, and that last lap or last 2 laps, it just can change everything, and I am on the edge of my seat.
I know you are. I've watched you yell at the TV before.
And, jump up and down. And I think for any mother that has a child out there, those 2 races have to be the most nerve-wracking.
I agree.
Of all the races.
Definitely agree. So, in not seeing Dale, that's kind of, since he's won the race and we're not going to see him till after Vegas, that kind of leads into a little bit about what I wanted to talk about today and share with fans is really the sacrifices that families make. Even the drivers, they obviously make a lot of sacrifices themselves, but, from a family perspective, we all make a lot of sacrifices, and Dale winning the Daytona 500, means we haven't got to see him for what will be 2 weeks when we finally do get to see him. We haven't had that celebration party yet. We haven't got to all get together around the table and talk about it, or here in the office and hug his neck and talk about it. So I wanted to talk a little bit about sacrifices that we deal with and kind of what our life is on a everyday basis and what we talk to Dale about. I get a lot of questions, tell your brother this and tell your brother that, and I'm thinking to myself, I don't even get that much time to talk to him. When I do talk to him, it's in a text, an email, and I'm limited to a certain amount of characters, right?
Well, yeah, I have a lot of people ask me the same things, what did Dale think about this, and what do you think about the race Sunday, or, what's he going to do this weekend or whatever. And I don't I hate to feel like I'm stupid or
Right.
that I don't
I
know
know.
what's going on. But honestly,
That's just
we
not stuff we
don't
talk about.
those things. We
Right.
just talk about normal things, what happened to each of us, in our home
What's going on
life
in our
and
life.
what's going on in our
Right.
life.
Right.
We don't talk about racing, and just like not seeing him for several weeks after his win. Now, honestly, by the time he gets home, he's going to be burnt out of talking about Daytona win.
I know.
So that's probably not going to be a big
The
subject of
subject.
conversation. Party, that will be.
Yeah. Right.
But I know I go around a lot of times, and I really don't even want people to know, or don't want my name to come up or whatever, because I feel like I don't know many of the answers a lot of
To
times
their questions, right?
to their questions,
Right.
because it's just not what we deal with
Yeah.
daily.
Well,
We
your
work
role,
together.
for me, obviously, I deal with a lot of business stuff, and we handle a lot of that through email. And we intermix personal things into that as the day goes or as a week goes by. But really, for you, I mean, you're the cheerleader. Your response after he wins the Daytona 500 is just rah rah. That a boy, that's my boy. I knew you could do it. So on and so forth. And that's kind of your role, really, when you're talking anything career related to him. You're not talking about, hey, how'd your crew chief do today? What was your car like? What'd you think about getting that last set of tires?
I try to text after every race. Well, I text before, the day before or the morning of, just to tell him to be safe and I love him. And I try to text after every race to, say good job, or say, we'll get him next week, or whatever needs to be said.
Right.
He's reminded me a couple of times that I am supposed to be the cheerleader because I have voiced my opinion of what I thought went the hell wrong. And he said he didn't need me to be telling him that. He had enough people to tell him that.
I remember that, yes. So you're not the crew chief, you're the cheerleader.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I know my role now.
Well, that's one thing with Dale is he'll gladly tell us what he expects out of us.
Absolutely.
And how we need to react. I think he gets that from Dad. So talking about sacrifices, really from our birth on, we've always sacrificed as a family about racing. And you probably, Mom, can speak more to that than I can. I think I was almost born at a racetrack, right?
I went into labor leaving a racetrack one Saturday night. Yes.
Yeah. So talk about racing, then and the family aspect of it and the sacrifices and kind of how things were and how you relate that to today and kind of growing up and stuff.
Well, I think it's back in those days where you raced maybe 3 different tracks in a week. I mean, your whole life revolved around racing.
Yeah.
You only had a few people trying to get your car ready every week, and you pulling it there yourself, and just your whole life wrapped around it.
So did you have a role like back then? Like, what did you do for Dad when he raced like that? I mean, scorekeeper.
I didn't work on
meals.
I didn't work on the car or
Did you
nothing.
go give him a water?
When they had to have a score, I would score.
Give him a beer? I don't know.
So, and I mean, I rode a lot of times with him and tried to keep him awake coming back home. And it's funny, sacrificing. I went into labor with you at a racetrack one night. He had gotten in a fight with some other racers, and I guess it just got my blood pressure up. And when Dale Jr. was born, Mamaw had to come get me at the hospital the day I was leaving the hospital because your daddy was at Hickory Speedway running a race. So
Dale had already been born, and
so
Dad
he had
went to the race.
Yes.
After the fact.
Right.
And then you had to get taken home by Mamaw.
Yeah.
Good story.
It's changed a lot
I don't
now.
know that would fly today with the drivers of the world. Those wives today, they have those guys in town. Of course, they would probably not miss a race, but they would keep the margin as close as they could to get to the race and finish the race. And
well,
make it all good.
Well,
I don't know.
Technology and all that stuff, right?
Yeah,
Nowadays can get you a little closer to all that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just like now, at least with the advance of the sport and just the way everything is, the way everybody travels now, at least you have a few days that you can kind of detach yourself from it. I know Dale enjoys them few days.
Yeah.
It's sometimes even when he's home hard to see him then because he's in his down mode.
Yeah. I know for me, some of the things that I remember growing up, like I think Dad came to my high school graduation but didn't make it to Dale's.
That's correct.
You know, I think he was racing on the East Coast
He
when it
was.
was mine, so he was able to work it out, and then he was on the West Coast for Dale's.
Yep.
You know, proms, I don't know that, I'm pretty sure my dad didn't ever send me off to the prom. I don't even think Dale went to the prom.
I don't think he did either.
Yeah. And, you know, sports and games and things like that, you know, Dad missed out on pretty much all of those kind of things. You know, you were a part of those and always there for those. And I think, you know, that probably is pretty similar to how it is today, because the moms had the opportunity to stay back where the dads really don't have that choice.
Right.
You know. All right. So, you know, kind of to wrap up, just talking about seeing Dale and the time that we sacrifice with our family and whatnot. When you see him next Monday, what's the first thing you're going to do?
Well, I really hope to see him Sunday night.
Okay. After Vegas.
After Vegas.
You're going to be up at like 3 or 4 in the morning?
I'm going to be up whatever time's necessary.
All right.
I'll have it kind of down to when he's going to be home, and I plan to be sitting on his front porch.
All righty. There you go, Dale. You'll be waving to Mom on your front porch when you drive in. All right, let's get to Ask Kelley. You guys have submitted your questions on Twitter, and if you want to submit those for future weeks, you can go ahead and do that at my Twitter handle, Earnhardt Kelley, and you can use the hashtag AskKelley. And remember, I spell my name with a Kelley, and maybe on another show we'll ask Mom why we spell it like that. And Mom, you can chime in anytime that you want to, if you've got something to add to the questions here.
All right, our first question is from Pete Akatoto on Twitter, and he says, did you ever race at any level, Kelley? And if so, why did you not continue?
All right, so interesting that this question was asked, because this whole week on Twitter, I think Dale, you know, Mr. Twitter now, at Dale Jr., brought up the fact that I beat him. I think a fan asked him something about our racing, and that I beat him at Myrtle Beach one year. So yes, I did race. I moved home from college in 1993. Raced street stocks. My dad begged me to move home and told me that I could have my own apartment and I could race if I would just move home. So I did. And I raced 3 years after that in 94, 5, and 6 with Dale Jr. and Carrie. We raced all over North Carolina and Virginia, South Carolina, in late model stock cars. So go out and support your local track, because I'm a big proponent of that. But so this story, you know, somebody asked Dale about did I beat him, and yes, I did beat him a time or two, but everybody says I was the best driver out of the three of us. Now statistically, I think Dale did a lot better. Well, I know he did a lot better. He had 3 wins and I had 0 wins. But Hank Parker brought up this story, and Mom, I know you were a big part of this, from my street stock days. And one of them was about me getting sucker punched at the racetrack. And yes, that happened. I supposedly wrecked someone's boyfriend, and the girl was in the payoff line. And as she got his check, she turned around and punched me. I fell back to the ground, wanted to get up and hit back, but a lot of people were holding me back. All over, you know, probably $20. I can't believe it. But anyway, the story that Hank was talking about also was the night that I pulled my own car down. You rode with me in the truck, and I pulled our old street stock car, which was banged from one end to the other. And Dale borrowed a friend's car from Dale Earnhardt Incorporated, Todd, borrowed his car, pulled it down. So it's just the three of us. We're going to race our street stocks. And on the first lap, Dale rear ends me and busts his radiator.
Yep, I remember that.
Yep. The interesting part of that, because I really don't remember much more about the race, the interesting part of it was on our way home, we had a little bit of a car crash. Mom's over there, yep.
Yeah, that was crazy. I mean, we had the green light, and that car just turned right in front of us. Dale's driving then saved us, because we almost missed the people.
Yep.
But we were over the medium, the big medium in the road, and with a gooseneck trailer and just flying all up in the air. And I don't know if you remember the rest of it, though. We stopped at, it was a little gas station there.
Yeah.
We stopped,
talked
to the people.
Talked to them. Yep.
We really didn't have too much damage. They had some. The boy kept saying, my mom's going to kill me. My mom's going to kill me. But we're like, look, we're not going to call the law. We're not messed up. You know, everything's okay with us.
Right.
So
we all went on our merry way.
We all went
This
on our
is,
merry way.
You know, midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning. The next night we go back to Concord to race again. Same situation. Got the street stock cars. We're going back down there. And the sheriff comes to the racetrack and is looking for us. I'm thinking that the kid went home, got in trouble from the mom. The mom said, you better go find these people that hit you or whatever, when it was really their fault because they turned in front of us. And so we had to end up going down and filing a police report and all that good stuff after that race. So it was another late night.
I think what really happened is that after the fact, they got scared and they decided to cover their butt in any manner. So they called the cops. Yeah. And we left the scene of the accident, according to them.
Oh, yeah, they did say that.
Yeah, and so after the race, we had to go by the police department and tell our little end of the tale.
That's your Saturday night short track racing.
It sure was.
The
only thing I kept telling Kelley and Dale's, please don't say who you are. When you get out, don't say who you are. Don't say who you are.
Yep, we were Kelley and Dale Smith. All right, next question.
This one I think will be good for both you and Brenda. At Lol Halls, how often do you find yourselves on the verge of a nervous breakdown when you're watching Dale race? I know you guys talked a little bit about Daytona and Talladega, but is that an every weekend deal? Do you worry every weekend?
I don't really worry. I don't really get nervous every weekend. I probably feel more of the disappointment when something goes wrong, or, you know, right out of the box if they have a bad pit stop or something gets them kind of behind. I'm probably more kind of stressed, you know, like, how's he going to make it up? Is he going to make it up? What's going to happen to get them back in position? Is this going to be the end of it? How can he overcome this, etc.? Really, as far as nerves go, really Daytona and Talladega. And I think really being there this past Daytona, was really the most nervous I've been. I don't think I could describe any other situation where I've been that nervous. I don't know about you, Mom.
Well, I think nervous, not as much.
Just anxious.
Anxious.
You know?
Is probably a good word for it. And, I mean, I'm optimistic regardless of what's going on, because I watch every lap almost, unless I'm going to the refrigerator. But I'm optimistic till the end, I guess, and I may be more anxious. Sometimes, you know, if, you know, maybe they're not feeling well or something like that, you know, they've got to go run this 400 laps and it's hot and everything's going on, you know, then I go into mom mode and wonder that he's okay, and, you know, but I have complete confidence in Dale's ability. I always said back when Dale was racing, somebody asked me the question, and I said, it's the other 40 that I don't know too much about. Do I have a lot of confidence in Dale? Absolutely.
All right, we got another question here from Ted MC71. He wants to know, has Dale Jr. ever babysat for any of your 3 kids, or changed a diaper, or had him for an extended period of time?
Right, so if you listen to the first podcast from last week, you'll get the story on the diapers. The answer is no. And you can find out more if you listen to the first podcast about Dale Jr. and diapers and what he thinks about that. As far as babysitting, you know, it's weird because Carson's 13. I guess it's not weird, but it's just Carson's 13. When she was born, he was a lot younger, a lot less mature. He thought it was cool that I had a kid, but he really, you know, didn't really get that into it. He was very excited when I told him I was pregnant with Carson. In fact, he was so excited that he called all his friends that night and told them that his sister was having a baby. And my dad called about an hour later and said, hey, you know, you might just want to not tell everybody until you get through the first trimester and have your first ultrasound and just make sure everything's okay. So I called Dale back up and I said, hey, you know, Dad said just to keep this on the down low right now. And he's like, oh, crap, man, I've already called all my friends and told them. I was like, okay, well, you can answer to Dad on that one. But he and Amy did babysit Wyatt. And the story I got was Amy did all the work. So I'll leave it at that. Okay, so for our final thoughts today, I've got a question for you, Mom. This was submitted from an anonymous employee at Junior Motorsports. Ha, anonymous employee. You can't come forward and show your name. So the question is, if you were in charge of the shop here at Junior Motorsports and I wasn't, what change would you implement first?
the first change,
That's what it says.
I'd put wine in the vending machines. Change number 2, I'd try to hire you.
Or find out why I'm not working. So you'd change that first, and then you would try to figure out how I could get back to running the place.
Right.
I see. And then what if I vetoed your first change?
No, that would be a stipulation.
Oh,
that'd be in your
hiring
contract.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah.
Oh, gotcha. All right. Well, I don't want to negotiate against you. Well, thank you for joining me on the second episode of Fast Lane Family. I hope you're enjoying it, and we're looking forward to talking to you next week.
Thanks for listening to Dirty Mo Radio.